lightsaber while continuing to use it for the remainder of his life as a Sith Lord. Eventually though, the weapon would be torn from his arm while battling his own Sith apprentice Darth Zana for the right to call himself the Dark Lord. After Bane's death at the hands of Darth Zana, Zana herself recognized the lightsaber's deep rarity and importance. Because of this, she ordered her own apprentice to retrieve it, as she would use it before constructing a lightsaber of her own. Even following this, the weapon would remain a powerful artifact for the now reborn Sith Order, as Zana would always look upon it and remember the sinister master of Darth Bane. So what are your thoughts on Darth Bane's extremely rare and weightless lightsaber, and if you could design a lightsaber, what would it look like? Also, out of all the books and films, what is your favorite lightsaber design? Mine is actually Darth Bane's, which is why I chose to focus on it for this video. If you would like to see videos on other lightsabers that we have seen in the Star Wars universe, be sure to suggest them in the comments down below, as I would love to check them out. If you would like to join me in the daily Star Wars discussion and debates, follow me on Twitter at Stupendous Wave. Link will be in the description. If you enjoyed this video and feel it deserves it, it would really help me out if you could leave a like. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel to keep up to date with everything Star Wars related, from news, explanations, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. If you have any video topics you would like to see addressed in a future video, do not hesitate to leave them in the comments below the video, or again, tweet them at me. As always, your viewership and support means the world. May the Force be with you, and have a great day. Today, issue 4 of the new Darth Vader comic was released, and it details the finale of Vader's confrontation with the Jedi Master Infala, as well as one of Darth Vader's most sinister moments. The comic begins with Darth Vader reconstructing himself after he was thrown off of a mountain in the previous issue. In the last issue, after several trials, Darth Vader was handily defeated by Infala. Here, we can see Vader's mask, as well as most of his cybernetics, are badly damaged. However, with the power of the dark side, as well as by using parts from another fallen droid, Darth Vader is able to hold himself together and march to a nearby city where Infala is waiting. Infala has ventured here to acquire his ship and return to the known galaxy to hunt down the Emperor after he believes he has killed Darth Vader. We learn that Infala believes this because he can no longer sense Darth Vader's presence. Infala also proclaims that his Barrage vow is complete and that he will now venture back to the galaxy to restore the Jedi Order as a once again fully realized Jedi Master. Infala, however, then senses the power of Darth Vader yet again as Vader approaches via a nearby dam. Vader then calls to Infala, beckoning him to come and finish the fight between the Jedi and the Sith Lord. Infala, noticeably shaken and astounded that Vader survived his fall, activates his lightsaber and again launches himself into battle against the Dark Lord. Vader, still possessing the training lightsaber, smashes against Infala, matching him in a feat of strength despite his damaged cybernetics. Infala, however, being more nimble, jumps over Vader, striking him across the back, and again displays his superiority over the damaged Dark Lord. Here though, the flaw of the Jedi Master and the flaw of the Jedi Order entirely emerges as several guards approach the Jedi and Sith in order they disperse and quit their fighting. Realizing the critical weakness, Vader seizes the guards and throws them from the dam. Infala, however, grabs them using the Force and lowers them below the dam to safety. Infala then calls Vader a monster as the Dark Lord agrees that he is indeed one. Vader then musters his Force power to break apart a water silo below the dam the two are fighting on. As the silo breaks apart, Infala becomes engulfed by fear, attempting to desperately use the Force to put the silo back together as the water is released. While distracted, Vader uses the Force to pull Infala's lightsaber into his grasp, as his mission is now partially complete. The Sith Lord then seizes Infala by the throat, dangling him over the edge of the dam as he watches. Vader then tells Infala this was never just between the Jedi and the Sith, as the Jedi Master looks below and witnesses the deaths of hundreds of innocent civilians. Vader forces the Jedi Master to witness their deaths firsthand, as he can do nothing. Infala begs Vader to stop, as Vader crushes the Jedi's throat and throws his body below to the city that is now engulfed by water and death. The Sith Lord then triumphantly holds the deceased Jedi Master's lightsaber in his palm as the issue comes to a close. So that was issue 4 of Darth Vader and the completion of the current arc of the Darth Vader comic. After reading all 4, I found this issue very intriguing in well done, as it was great to see Vader at a disadvantage, as this is a super rare thing for the character. I really enjoyed that Vader defeated Infala not by beating him with the Force or by using a weapon, as he doesn't have a lightsaber yet, but by rather using civilians against him. This shows the beginnings of the very intelligent Darth Vader that we all know and love. I believe this was a very, very difficult lesson for Darth Vader that he has remembered ever since the time of his death above Endor. The death of the Jedi Master was also very satisfying, and the way Vader went about it was just perfect, threatening the lives of hundreds and even killing hundreds just to kill a single Jedi. This comic really showed Vader's boundaries and what he will do on a mission, and rather that there are no boundaries on what he will do. He will literally kill millions to get what he wants. I cannot wait for the next issue where we actually physically get to see the bleeding process of a lightsaber as Vader corrupts his crystal, as we have previously only had it described to us, not actually seen. I have a feeling we are all in for a very special treat in the next issue. If you are curious to what a bleeding of a lightsaber crystal is, I will link a video in the description that displays what we will see Vader do with the Fallen Jedi's lightsaber in the next issue. Ultimately, I am very pleased with the final issue of the arc of Darth Vader hunting down the Jedi Master Infala, and found it very satisfying, especially after seeing how Vader ultimately defeats him. Watching Darth Vader be ruthless is always a great treat. But what are your thoughts on the new Darth Vader comic, issue number 4, and the comic series overall? And out of 10, what would you give the current issue, and then the series as a whole, as we currently have 4 issues? I would love to hear your thoughts on the comic, and also, what has been your favorite moment out of these first 4 issues? For me, I would say the death of Jedi Master Infala has by far been my favorite moment. If you would like to join me in the daily Star Wars discussion and debates, follow me on Twitter at Stupendous Wave. Link will be in the description. If you enjoyed this video and feel it deserves it, it would really help me out if you could leave a like. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel to keep up to date with everything Star Wars related, from news, explanations, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. If you have any video topics you would like to see addressed in a future video, do not hesitate to leave them in the comments below the video, or again, tweet them at me. As always, your viewership and support means the world. May the Force be with you, and have a great day. Although Order 66's initial assault was widely successful, many Jedi managed to escape the clone troopers and remain hidden. Many of these Jedi chose to flee to the planet of Kashyyyk due to it being the last known location of Grandmaster Yoda and several other notable Jedi Masters. As Jedi fled to the planet, Tarkin and Vader received the go-ahead from Emperor Palpatine to pursue them. Tarkin desired to venture to Kashyyyk to use the Wookiees as slave labor in the construction of the first Death Star, and Vader simply wished to kill the Jedi present on the planet after he had formed a rivalry with their leader, Roan Shrine. The Imperial commanders above the planet of Kashyyyk wished to bomb it from above and leave little life, but Vader wanted to personally kill the Jedi, specifically Shrine. The next morning, Vader descended to the planet with the 501st and engaged the Wookiees. However, the Empire had grossly underestimated the Wookiee forces and rage that went along with them and were driven back. However, Vader managed to push back, and although the entire first wave of troopers were defeated, Vader stood tall. Unfortunately for Vader though, he discovered the Jedi were not there, and were aiding the Wookiees in an evacuation attempt, and ordered to be brought directly to the Jedi. Arriving at another Wookiee city, Vader's shuttle sustained heavy fire, and Vader received reports that the Wookiee soldiers were utterly annihilating the Imperial attacks below. This prompted Vader to give the go-ahead for orbital strikes on the planet, but ordered that the commander save the capital city for last, as that is where he believed the Jedi were hiding. Vader then successfully landed in the capital with his troops, and began his assault, killing as many innocent Wookiees as possible in an attempt to draw the elusive Jedi from hiding. As Vader's troops tore through the Wookiees, the Jedi stepped forward, no longer able to stand the bloodshed. However, Vader's true prize of Shrine was not with the Jedi, as he had broken off to aid the Wookiee forces. Vader then ordered his men to keep the assault on the Wookiees going, as he would deal with the Jedi himself. 6 Jedi Knights stood before Vader, as 2 of them attacked with highly offensive and varied lightsaber sequences. The Jedi, however, underestimated Vader's still impressive speed, and after pushing back several attacks, decapitated both Jedi with one swing of his lightsaber. Vader then brutally murdered 3 other Jedi, crushing one's windpipe with the Force. Then just a single Jedi Master stood before the Dark Lord of the Sith. This Jedi, overcome with rage herself, leaped forward, being highly offensive as well. The Jedi was at first blindly swinging at the Sith, confused as to why he was not attacking, only evading, and defending against her advance. The Jedi Master then stepped back, realizing Vader was only waiting for her to tire. This was, however, a fatal mistake, as this lapse in combat allowed the moment Vader was looking for. Launching a brutal assault of his own, Vader swiftly regained his lost ground, and more so. However, just as the Jedi was about to be struck down, Shrine arrived for the battle. Quickly engaging with the Sith Lord, Shrine ordered the Jedi to gather as many Knights and Wookiees as possible and flee the planet. Vader and Shrine then began a duel that would remain in Vader's mind for the rest of his life, as each pushed relentlessly against the power of the other. Although at first Vader seemed more skilled, Shrine used his superior speed to land several hits against Vader. Just as Vader gained the upper hand though, the orbital strike began. Vader and Shrine quickly moved within a massive tree and continued their duel, despite much of the clones and Wookiees perishing in the attack. As the strike continued, the two warriors, one of the light and one of the dark, smashed against one another. Shrine then suddenly saw something he had not before. Taking a moment to think, he noticed Vader's control panel and deduced it was the power source behind his suit. Striking at it, Vader was forced on the defensive and adopted a near fully defensive fighting style. As Vader was forced to protect his chest, his arms and legs were left exposed, as Shrine struck against them again and again. Sensing defeat and being overwhelmed, Vader reached deep into the dark side of the Force and ripped platforms and debris from the walls themselves, flinging them towards the Jedi. Although Shrine was able to evade several of the attacks, he was knocked from the platform on which the two fought and fatally fell to the ground below. Darth Vader, victorious, approached the dying Jedi. When Vader saw the extent of his injuries and was assured he would die, he reveled in his victory, resolving to truly destroy his rival's spirit. Vader then revealed that Palpatine and the new Emperor was a Sith Lord, and that the Jedi would fall. He then took a moment and revealed his own identity as Anakin Skywalker, showing the fallen Jedi the true state of the Order and victory the Sith had attained. However, Shrine was not disheartened, as he informed Vader he would soon join with the Force, something Vader as a Sith Lord could never do. An explosion bright as a star, a forest world, intrepid defenders, escaping ships, and you, I think, somehow at the center of it all. Skywalker, it won't matter if you find them. It won't matter if you find and kill every Jedi who survived Order 66. I understand now. The Force will never die. Infuriated, Vader departed the planet, and after learning of the Jedi's successful escape, ordered the entire planet of Kashyyyk bombed from orbit. Although the Empire was victorious, Palpatine was concerned by Vader's recklessness and showings during the battle, forced to question his merits as a true Lord of the Sith. So that is how and why Vader revealed his true identity to a dying Jedi, and how the Jedi got the best of him in the end, as well as almost killing Darth Vader. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to ensure that you become a living holocron today. If you enjoyed the video and feel it deserves it, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it helps me out a great deal. If you'd like to speak or contact me directly, the best place to do so is on my Twitter, @StupendousWave. If you have any future potential video ideas you would like to see explored, be sure to leave them in the comments down below, as I go through them very often. Thanks as always so much for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day. The life of Asajj Ventress has been a long and difficult one, beginning as a daughter of the Night Sisters and being sold into slavery in order to protect the group, later being taken as an unofficial Jedi Padawan to the Master she would soon lose. Over this life, Ventress would grow to despise the Jedi Order and their lack of action following the events of the murder of her master, believing it was not only preventable, but easily so. Immediately following the death of her master, Ventress embraced the dark side of the Force, tapping into its power to kill the remaining pirates and seize the entire planet for herself. Her displays and ferocity caught the attention of the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Tyrannus, better known as Count Dooku, who offered Ventress a chance to take revenge against the Jedi that abandoned her and her master. Jumping at this opportunity, Ventress dedicated herself to the dark side for many years, indeed killing many Jedi, just as she had wished. However, her place at the side of Dooku was only temporary, as she would be betrayed by her new master in her moment of need, being left for dead. But as she had many times before this, Ventress would find a way to survive, escaping and finding her way back to the Night Sister clan that she originated from long ago. But this, unfortunately for Ventress, would not last. After losing the Night Sisters, Ventress would become a well-known, respected, and in some circles, even hated bounty hunter. Previously losing her red lightsabers to the fallen Jedi Barriss Offee, Ventress would go on to acquire a yellow lightsaber and come into possession of a specially modified ship that she would name the Banshee. For some time, Ventress operated out of this ship as she conducted her affairs as a bounty hunter, earning her the title of the Fallen Banshee. On one mission, Ventress encountered an individual named Quinlan Voss, who presented himself as a new, skilled bounty hunter who had just arrived on the scene. Secretly though, Voss was in fact a Jedi Master sent to carry out one of the darkest orders the Jedi had ever levied, the assassination of Count Dooku. In order to learn all he could of Dooku, Voss opted to track down Ventress, as she had spent many years as a student and would know him better than anyone. After working together on a bounty, the two became partners, as Voss continued his charade as a bounty hunter, even going as far as to limit his use of the Force, and purely operate using his physical abilities. However, the more time Ventress spent with the hidden Jedi, the more curious she became concerning certain feats he would pull off on hunts. After developing feelings for one another, and after a particularly impressive display on Voss's behalf, Voss revealed he was in fact a Jedi Master sent to learn from Ventress and finally kill Count Dooku for his role in the Clone Wars. Ventress at first was surprised the Jedi Order had stooped as low as assassination, but later determined the Order was in the right and that Dooku needed to die. Agreeing to help Voss kill Dooku, as she herself had attempted on several occasions following her betrayal, Ventress implored Voss to undergo darkside training, as she believed only then they would be strong enough to defeat the Count. At first, Voss resisted the pull of the dark side, but as he was pushed farther by tapping into his own hatred and the hatred that others had developed, the dark side began to take root. The act that finally caused Voss's full embrace of the darkness was remembering the death of his Jedi Master Thulm earlier in the Clone Wars. This revelation shocked Ventress, as Thulm had perished by her blade. Instead of coming forward, however, Ventress told Voss Dooku had killed his master. Over the next several weeks, Ventress trained Voss in the ways of the dark side, with the Jedi eventually fully abandoning the Order and explaining after Dooku was dead he had no place amongst the Jedi. Voss was trained to kill without hesitation or remorse, and taught the many gifts and curses the darkness had to offer. As his power in the darker aspects of the Force increased, so did his love for Ventress. The next day, Ventress received word Dooku would arrive at a Separatist capital, and that there would be the best opportunity to catch him off guard and kill him. That night, Ventress completed Voss's dark side tutelage, forcing him to kill a rare creature, and reminding him of the loss of his Jedi Master and friend. The two then departed the planet of Dathomir, united in darkness and with the sole goal of killing Count Dooku. Arriving at the Separatist capital in the midst of a celebration, Ventress openly approached Dooku, who desired to kill her, but hesitated due to so many witnesses. Ventress told Dooku to meet her in private, and that they would finish what was started long ago there. Upon meeting with Ventress, the Count was confident he could overpower her, as he had requested the aid of General Grievous. However, Voss had secretly prior trapped the droid general, and instead of Grievous emerging to aid Dooku, instead, Voss revealed himself. The three dueled for a time, with Dooku surprisingly gaining the upper hand. Then, to the dismay of Ventress, Grievous entered and separated her from Voss. Just then, Dooku incapacitated the former Jedi Master with Force Lightning and ordered battle droids to take him into captivity. Just barely able to escape, Ventress reached out to Boba Fett and his crew, offering him everything she owned if they would just help her save Voss. With the help of the bounty hunters, Ventress found her way to Voss, only to discover he had learned the truth of the death of his master, and that he was prepared to kill Ventress for her to see. Engaging in a duel with Ventress with his fallen master's lightsaber, Ventress was driven back and nearly killed by Voss. Exiting where Voss was being held, Ventress saw the fallen Jedi join Dooku in an effort to kill the bounty hunters, and determined her former lover was entirely lost to the dark side. Realizing this, Ventress again escaped with the bounty hunters, completely broken. Ventress found her way back to Coruscant, where she resided in the lower levels for several months. During this period, Voss rose as a new enemy of the Republic and Jedi, as the new apprentice of Darth Tyrannus. One day, one of Voss's Jedi friends reached out to Ventress, asking her for help in a final effort to save Voss. Finally pulling herself away from despair, Ventress agreed to seek the aid of the Jedi. Meeting with both Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ventress was taken before the Jedi Council, with all but Kenobi and Yoda not interested in hearing her out initially. Following an intense meeting, it was decided Anakin and Obi-Wan would attempt to rescue and bring Voss back to the light, with Ventress being offered a full pardon for her crimes against the Republic if she aided in the Jedi's rescue efforts. Ventress agreed, and the group departed Coruscant to find Voss. Upon locating a still imprisoned Voss, Voss on a separate ship, Anakin engaged Dooku, while Ventress and Kenobi found Voss. Once finding the Jedi, Kenobi attempted to free him, but was stopped by Ventress, who still believed Voss was an agent of the dark side. However, Kenobi could not sense the darkness, and again went to free his companion. This time, Ventress leaped forward, believing only in death would Voss be free. Kenobi just barely managed to fight her off as Voss again fled. However, Voss soon returned, revealing he was aiding the group in their attempt. Upon escaping, Voss apologized to Ventress, and tried to explain he only joined Dooku in an effort to trick him. His pleas for forgiveness, however, fell on deaf ears, as Voss rejoined the Jedi and Ventress stormed away from the temple. Several months later, Voss managed to track Ventress down, telling her he would still leave with her after Dooku's death, and telling her he still loved her. At this moment, Ventress no longer sensed the dark side within Voss, and made up with him. In the following months, Voss told Ventress the Jedi no longer trusted him, and in a last effort to prove his allegiance, he was again commissioned to assassinate Dooku. Together, Ventress and Voss were able to persuade the Council into letting Ventress accompany Voss on his mission. Secretly, Voss had developed a plan to seemingly join Dooku yet again, in hopes of being led to the Count's own Sith Master and ending the war entirely. Unfortunately, however, Dooku discovered the plan, and after a lengthy chase, caught Voss in fatal torrents of Force lightning. Unable to watch her lover die, Ventress sacrificed herself, taking on the Force lightning and perishing in front of her true love. After this, Dooku again managed to escape, as Voss and Kenobi buried Ventress on Dathomir. So that is sadly what happened to Asajj Ventress after the Clone Wars. So that is how the story of Asajj Ventress ended. So what was your favorite point in Asajj Ventress's life? Was it her time as a Night Sister, a Jedi Padawan, Dark Jedi, or Bounty Hunter? The way Ventress's story ended was a very big point of contention in the Star Wars fandom, so do you like it or do you not like it? And if it were up to you, how would you change it? If you enjoyed the video and feel it deserves it, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it helps the channel out a great deal. If you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related, from news and theories. If you would like to speak to me directly and make suggestions, my Twitter is @StupendousWave, or you could always leave a comment, as I do read them all. Thanks again so much for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.
Who goes there?
When Ahsoka reappeared in Star Wars Rebels, many questions were answered as well as raised, some of the major questions being how Ahsoka survived Order 66 and the origin of her new white lightsabers. After completing the Ahsoka novel, a lot of the blanks were filled in, and today we will be explaining these mysteries along with the appearance of a new Inquisitor, the Sixth Brother. There will be huge spoilers for the Ahsoka novel, so if you have not read it, I recommend doing so, but if you don't care about spoilers, let's go ahead and begin. In the book, it is revealed Ahsoka was given her green lightsabers back by Anakin and Obi-Wan in hopes that she could use them to defeat Maul on Mandalore. She does eventually venture to Mandalore, but just as Anakin and Obi-Wan are about to join the attack with her, Palpatine is captured by Grievous on Coruscant, marking the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. Without the help of Anakin and Obi-Wan, Rex and Ahsoka have a huge battle on their hands, which spans several days, in which they wipe out the large majority of Maul's Mandalorians. They are even able to capture Maul by luring him into a trap. However, before they can take him into official custody, Order 66 is enacted, and the clones turn on the Jedi. Ahsoka, with the help of Rex, though, is able to escape. Before leaving Mandalore, Rex recovers another clone's body and puts his armor on it, burying it nearby, and creating a marker that states that he was buried nearby and was successfully able to kill Ahsoka. To solidify this, Ahsoka leaves her lightsabers. To seemingly confirm the claims, Ahsoka and Rex then split up, as to not draw further attention to them. We then find Ahsoka 1 year later working as a mechanic. Over her time as a mechanic, she has taken the name Ashla, which was the original term for the light side of the Force in the days of the Old Republic. She is also haunted by a mysterious dark figure who represents Bogan. Although she does not know who this figure is, I am confident it is some kind of mental manifestation of Darth Vader. As a mechanic, Ahsoka will occasionally come into possession of parts she feels some kind of connection with, and keeps them for use at a future date. These parts will eventually be used to construct her lightsabers, similar to how Luke built his lightsaber, collecting spare parts on Tatooine. Ahsoka is eventually forced to leave her job, and is caught up in a minor rebellion where she uses her Force abilities to save herself and her friends. The use of her powers catches the attention of Bail Organa, who wishes for Ahsoka to join the rebellion, but also a new Inquisitor called her sixth brother. Here we learn the Inquisitors, at this point as far as is portrayed, have not encountered any Jedi yet, or at least most of them haven't, and usually go around the galaxy hunting down non-trained Force sensitives or Force sensitive children. At this point in the timeline, Lord Vader is really the only active Imperial Enforcer capable of killing remaining Jedi. However, the sixth brother wishes to prove himself and is prompted to hunt down Ahsoka, who he knows as a mysterious Force user. The sixth brother is described as an unknown species of a very large build, with scars covering his face that look more like tattoos or markings. His eyes are also piercingly blue in color. In order to face the Inquisitor, Ahsoka ventures to Ilum to find kyber crystals, for her lightsabers of course, however turns away after discovering a huge Imperial occupation of the planet. While searching, she reaches out through the Force, and feels a connection to crystals far from her location. It's described as almost a singing. She discovers the crystals that are calling to her are in fact the sixth brother's own. Ahsoka notes that she recognizes them and felt them long ago at the Jedi Temple. For a moment, this led me to believe that the sixth brother could have been a Jedi, as currently we know both the Grand Inquisitor and the fifth brother were both Jedi. Ahsoka states that the sixth brother turned the crystals red by imbuing them and corrupting them with hatred, a process called bleeding. This reveals many of the Inquisitors may have adopted fallen Jedi's crystals as their own, and used the same bleeding process. Because she has no crystals, Ahsoka is forced to fight the sixth brother without a lightsaber. While doing so, she knows how incredibly sloppy he is, a fact that leads me to believe he was not in fact a Jedi prior to becoming an Inquisitor. Near the end of the battle, Ahsoka reaches out to the kyber crystals, and they turn on the sixth brother, as they never really called to him. This reaction causes the sixth brother's lightsaber, which was a dual-bladed spinning variant, to crack, then explode, killing him. Ahsoka then takes the crystals, imbuing her energy into them and extinguishing the red color. Once she places the crystals into her hilts and activates them, the color is white, revealing her neutral but pure state in the Force. However, in the book, this is never made explicitly clear, suggesting the case may be that restoring any crystal after a bleeding process causes them to become white, and that they do not actually represent Ahsoka's stance in the Force, but that the crystals have been cleansed of the dark side. But again, this distinction is never made clear. Ahsoka then meets face to face with Bail Organa, seeing R2 once again. She explains to Bail that the rebellion lacks the ability to spot other pieces of rebellion, and more importantly, how to spot places in trouble. Because of this, Ahsoka becomes head of this section in the rebellion, but goes by the name of Fulcrum, as she is fairly famous at this point. We then catch up with the Grand Inquisitor, who reaches out to Vader, telling him he has found another Jedi, and commenting on how much damage they are able to cause to the Empire, referring unknowingly to Ahsoka. We learn here, at least the Grand Inquisitor at this point is becoming a more skilled Jedi hunter, and his power is slowly increasing. The book then concludes with a chapter that blew my mind. We find Obi-Wan meditating, searching through the Force, finding a place where he is free from his memories, and even emotion itself. He feels as if he's gone as far as he can, and reached the bottom of his meditative state, but discovers there's another layer beneath that he had no idea even existed. Once there, he hears the voice of his old master, Qui-Gon Jinn, who says, "Let go." To me, this is about as big a hint to an Obi-Wan standalone movie as any. Recently, if you look, you can really see Disney testing the waters and setting the groundwork for an Obi-Wan film, or at least a story, and this last chapter was the biggest hint thus far. So that is all the big stuff from the Ahsoka novel. Finally, great to get some answers to questions I personally have had for years, and if you're a fan of Rebels and the Clone Wars, I suggest picking it up. So how do you feel about all the explanations, and the way Ahsoka escaped Order 66, got her white lightsabers, and the addition of a new Inquisitor? Leave all thoughts and comments below, as I would love to read them. Also, do you think they're hinting at an Obi-Wan film, or was this just a little bonus piece of information and nothing else really? If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, as it helps it out a great deal and I really appreciate it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related. If you have any lore topics or questions you want answered, do not hesitate to tweet them at me at Stupendous Wave on Twitter, or leave a comment and I will try my best to answer or make a full video dedicated to that topic. Thanks again for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day. The Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi was the finest the Jedi Order had to offer. He was loyal, powerful, and above all, kind. He embodied what a Jedi should strive to be like. Obi-Wan was at the top of his game when the dreaded Order 66 was given, and although Kenobi survived the initial assault, and even his subsequent duel with the newly anointed Darth Vader, the Jedi would never be the same again. Exiled to the desert world of Tatooine, Kenobi was concerned for the well-being of the galaxy and the remaining Jedi. Although he maintained hope in the form of a small boy who one day he believed would bring the once great Order of Jedi Knights back from the brink of utter annihilation. Welcome to my How Powerful series, where we take a character within Star Wars and analyze their power, from their abilities with the Force, dueling skills, and finally, their weaknesses. For this installment, we will be looking at Old Ben Kenobi. An important distinction before we begin, we will only be examining Obi-Wan near the tail end of his exile on Tatooine. We will not be breaking down the power and potential of Obi-Wan during the period leading up to and through the Clone Wars, basically during his prime, only the Jedi Master's ability as of A New Hope and slightly before. To begin, I would like to read a quote placed on Twitter by the Rebels voice actor for Old Ben Kenobi, Steven Stanton, which I believe perfectly embodies Old Ben. Beware of an old man in a profession where men usually die young. For almost 2 decades, Obi-Wan resided on the planet of Tatooine, and it took its toll on the Jedi. So much so, the harsh twins aged Kenobi far faster than is normal. This, combined with the hardship and loss of what felt like another lifetime for the Jedi, weakened him physically a great deal. However, despite Kenobi's body being not quite as refined as days gone by, his mind grew tenfold in strength. Old Ben did not spend his exile twiddling his thumbs in boredom. Kenobi pondered on the ways of the Force and existing circumstances he found himself in. In his exile, Kenobi did still drill with his lightsaber, but when concerning duels, his once ironclad defense of Form 3 Surisu was not as impenetrable as it had been in times prior. Because of this, Obi-Wan was forced to compensate for his now shortcomings in lightsaber combat, and implement other lightsaber forms into his fighting style, in addition to keeping a core in his famous Surisu defense. While Kenobi had focused on Form 4 Utaru in his youth, his old age made such a form difficult to use due to its acrobatics and speed necessary. Instead, Kenobi integrated pieces of the first lightsaber form, Shi-Cho, into his style. The simplicity of the form complemented a now-aged Kenobi a great deal, and as Kreia would explain, it is simple, and its simplicity is strength. Although not as swift or graceful as before, every sequence of Kenobi's blade was to be feared, as each movement and strike appeared to have the thought and preparation of hours behind it. Despite his age, the more hybridized form allowed Kenobi to strike with insanely deadly and well-prepared blows. For the famous saying, experience beats talent every time, Kenobi would absolutely embody the experience. Old Ben could dismantle an opponent faster, stronger, and younger than him simply due to his past as a Jedi during wartime. Although his body may have slowed, his mind never did, and an unprepared opponent could find themselves dead in a matter of moments. Against Darth Vader, Kenobi gave a noble effort, as even as an old man, he struck Vader's heart full of fear. Impressively, Kenobi even matched the cybernetically enhanced blows of Vader more than once during their confrontation. Kenobi's only true weakness was his failing body, as in all other aspects, he represented a near-perfect Jedi Master. Kenobi even realized that winning against Vader was not the right path to follow, and that he would best serve the galaxy through sacrifice. Now let's discuss Kenobi's Force abilities. In truth, while Kenobi had spent his exile pondering and learning from the Force, he was no longer concerned with its combative gifts, instead more interested in the knowledge and insight it could grant him. Kenobi for a great part of his exile had to face an opponent far more dangerous than any before, one in himself. Kenobi had to accept and overcome his shortcomings and mistakes and truly learn to let go. Obi-Wan had transformed in his age from a warrior to a scholar and teacher. Obi-Wan had advanced in his use of the Force, but he was much more inclined to use it in less combative ways in his older age, with examples being imitating the roar of a krayt dragon to scare off Tusken Raiders, or using a Jedi mind trick on a stormtrooper. Although Ben was more than capable of violently dispatching these foes, he no longer possessed any desire to. Kenobi had seen enough death during the Clone Wars, and taking a life had become a last resort for the Jedi. Quote, "There is a secret to the warrior arts, one that has nothing to do with training, nothing to do with fancy movements. It is the willingness to trade lives with your enemy, to never fight for anything you would not die for. Those who fight for glory, or gold, or power stand on shifting sand, not the bedrock of true courage." End quote. However, Kenobi still retained great combative prowess when concerning the Force. He was more than capable of using more conventional Jedi powers such as Force Push, again however sometimes less than willing to do so. Perhaps the greatest of all of Ben Kenobi's achievements when concerning the Force, including his time during the Clone Wars, was the ability to transcend the physical realm and become a Force ghost. This was a power few Jedi ever mastered, and it allotted Kenobi the chance to aid the young Luke Skywalker in his struggles against the Empire. In the end, Kenobi was one of the finest Jedi who ever lived. Although physically his exile weakened him, his spirit and wisdom had never been stronger, and allowed him to make the tough and right decisions when no others would. Old Ben was wise, kind, and still incredibly lethal. Although a fight was a last resort, if it came to it, it would be brief and executed nearly flawlessly. So that was my evaluation for the power of Old Ben Kenobi. So what do you guys think? How powerful do you think Obi-Wan was during the time of A New Hope and slightly before? Where do you think he ranks among other Jedi and Sith? If you could find the time and feel it deserves it, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it helps the video and the channel out a great deal. Please, please, please feel free to leave suggestions in the comments and on Twitter for future How Powerful series. I absolutely love to make them. Thanks as always so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and have a great day. Mace Windu, the acclaimed Jedi Master of the Order, considered by many as the most powerful Jedi of his era, in some eyes his power even eclipsing the raw power of Grandmaster Yoda. Mace Windu was without a doubt an absolute combative juggernaut. He could level armies with his hand-to-hand combat alone, and not only his skill, but advancements in combat rank among the great Jedi of old. Welcome to my How Powerful series, where we analyze a character from their affinity with the Force, skill with the lightsaber, and finally, their weaknesses. Today we will be breaking down, without a doubt, one of the most powerful Star Wars characters within canon, and a man who not only went toe-to-toe with, but disarmed perhaps the most powerful Sith Lord who has ever lived, and undoubtedly the most powerful of the era, Darth Sidious. Mace Windu hailed from the world of Har Cal, where the people of the world already had a strong inherent aptitude with the Force. When Windu was 6 months old, the Jedi visited his home planet and desired to take the young child to their academy for training. Since Windu's parents had perished previously, his clan gave the child to the Jedi to be trained, to one day aid the galaxy and all those who reside in it. Although Windu grew to be an extremely skilled young Jedi learner, the Order became concerned with his progress, as despite multiple attempts, he found himself unable to successfully build a lightsaber. For months, Windu experienced visions of himself wielding a purple lightsaber in combat, until one day requesting the Order leave him on the planet of Hurricane until he returned with the lightsaber he had so often dreamt of. Eventually, by aiding the natives of the world, Windu was gifted a purple crystal and successfully constructed his lightsaber. Graduating to a Jedi Knight, Windu trained several apprentices to knighthood. Although he was occasionally looked down upon for his harsh nature, the Council, or Order at large, never questioned his results, as his students appeared as bright spots among the Order. As a Jedi Master, Windu truly became infatuated with lightsaber combat. Feeling there was a darkness within him, Windu began the groundwork for a new lightsaber form in which he desired to channel his negative emotions through. Although Windu served the Jedi Order above all, he adored a challenge and a good fight. The Jedi Master, although he often struggled to admit it at first, desired power. Because of this, Windu created the form called Vapad. The form was meant to highlight one's own inner darkness and use it to channel their blade without letting it corrupt their spirit. By using this form, Windu attempted to walk the line between the light and the dark, and even somewhat touch the darkness, but not allow the lull of power to set in. The final product of the form was a variant of Form 7 lightsaber combat, which had to be approved by the Council, as Form 7 was a previously outlawed lightsaber fighting style among the Jedi, due to its emphasis on ferocity and dark side-fueled emotions. Mace's Vapad was only allowed to be practiced by students specifically selected by Mace Windu. Mace even ended up rejecting Anakin Skywalker from learning the form due to his arrogant and rogue nature. In the end, there were only two other prominent practitioners of the form, Mace's former apprentice Balaba and the Jedi Master that helped Windu create the form in the first place, Bolt. Unfortunately, the power of Vapad proved to be too much for these Jedi, as Balaba was temporarily lost to the darkness, and Bolt was lost forever. Because of its thin line between the light and the dark, Vapad was essentially a dark side trump card. In its purest form, the form created a loop between the practitioner of the form and their adversary. At its peak, the form drew the darkness out of an opponent and fueled it back through the user of the style. What this meant is that if one's opponent was engulfed fully in the dark side, they would essentially be fighting against themselves, as their power would move through the user of Vapad and back out again. However, Vapad was only ever achieved perfectly a single time, with Mace Windu's duel with Darth Sidious, which I believe was due to Sidious's full, unflinching allegiance to the dark side of the Force. Vape was described as appearing to lack all grace and tact, and to be completely randomized and impossible to predict. The form was swift and power incarnate. Vape was also extremely difficult to keep track of, as the sequences were designed to be fast. In Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin enters the room in which Windu and Sidious were dueling, he describes not even being able to see the two warriors clearly, as their movements are so quick. Vape could also be used unarmed, as Windu could again channel his darkness through physical strike. At the end of his life, Windu was considered the best lightsaber duelist alive, as he had defeated the likes of Sora Hulk, General Grievous, Asajj Ventress, and even to some extent Darth Sidious. While his talent, his skill with the blade was his most useful and prized. Windu could piece by piece dismantle armies with his lightsaber, and few Force users have ever lived that come close to the esteem of Windu when concerning the blade. In his aptitude with the Force, Windu was also notable. Windu inherited the rare Force ability known as Shatterpoint, which allowed a practitioner to perceive weaknesses in the Force. What resulted of this was the ability to sense weaknesses in an opponent, or even physical structures. If Windu perceived a Shatterpoint in an enemy, he could follow it to its source, and often find a way to prevail against them. Windu was also extremely notable in Force-based physical augmentation, which allowed him to pull off feats not otherwise possible. Windu could fall unharmed from great distances, and tear apart battle droids with his bare hands. His speed was also impressive, and although he was not quite as swift as Yoda, few rivaled him in this department. Windu was somewhat versed on mental probing, although he rarely used it, as it was most often associated with Dark Jedi and Sith. In addition to walking the line between the light and the dark with his lightsaber, Mace also occasionally did so with the Force, as when pushed to it, Windu has been shown using the ability Force Crush, most notably on General Grievous. This ability is a violent one, and highlights a moment Windu embraced the more aggressive side of his personality. Of all Windu's traits, his dedication was perhaps the most admirable, and perhaps the reason why he could dabble in the darkness but remain firm within the light. In any moment, Windu would give everything for the Order. Some Jedi, however, criticized his more harsh nature, as some believed he held some students of the Order to too high of a standard. Windu is without a doubt one of the most combatively brilliant warriors in the Star Wars universe. Because of this, defeating him outright may seem an impossible task. A very, very minor weakness of Windu may be his inability to detect manipulation, and misplaced faith in the Order he served. Although not a weakness concerning his strength and power combatively, it was the weakness that destroyed him and the Order he served. His refusal to conform to the way of the people and opponents if they ended up altering his steadfast belief. Admittedly though, this is a flaw of the Jedi Order as a whole, and not just specifically Mace Windu. So that was my evaluation on the power of the Jedi Master, Mace Windu. So what do you think? Where do you think Mace Windu ranks among other Jedi and Sith? Is he on the top or at the bottom? Feel free to leave suggestions for future How Powerful series, as I love doing that. If you enjoyed this video, could find the time, and feel it deserves it, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it helps the channel out a great deal. If you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related, from news, theories, and explanation videos. If you would like to make a suggestion for a future video, please feel free to comment, or follow me on Twitter at Stupendous Wave, as I am most easily reached there. Thanks again so much for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day. Anakin Skywalker, one of the most powerful and famous Jedi that has ever lived, a great warrior, and a teacher, his potential unparalleled by any, even by Master Yoda or Mace Windu. But how powerful is Anakin really? If you search throughout the fandom, you will find tons of differing answers. Some cite Anakin as one of the most powerful Jedi who has ever lived, while others deem him a disappointment. So how powerful was the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, really? Before we begin, I want to make this distinction. For the purpose of this video, we will be looking at Anakin and Anakin only. From the point Palpatine used him the Sith and granted him the title of Darth Vader, he ceased to be Anakin Skywalker. Because of this, we will be looking at Anakin's feats and power up until he pledged himself to Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. Anything after that is a video made for Darth Vader. When Anakin became Obi-Wan's apprentice, his skills increased drastically. It was here Obi-Wan truly began to believe this boy may in fact be the Chosen One. However, Anakin became arrogant and thought himself above the other students. Despite being brought into the Order at an older age than is normal, he quickly passed the other Padawans and has now held a candle to his gift with the Force, or the lightsaber. This caused Anakin to come into conflict with many of the other Padawans, as he viewed himself above them. After several years of training, Anakin wished to prove himself to his master, programming the lightsaber sequences of Darth Maul into a training droid, and he did indeed manage to defeat it. Also around this time, Anakin began to be filled with doubt, not only in his own abilities, but with the Jedi way. Anakin became somewhat frightened at the prospects of being a Jedi his entire life, and almost left the Order because of it. This brings us to one of the major things that held Anakin back as a Jedi. Anakin sought power, even as a Jedi Knight of the Order. It was always important to prove himself as powerful, or even more powerful than others. Anakin was prideful, and while he had every right to be confident in his abilities, this held him back, not in the combative sense, but as a Jedi overall. Despite this, Anakin became a combative genius. The art of combat and any challenge got his heart beating, and although it was frowned upon by the Jedi, Anakin loved a good fight. Anakin's skill as a duelist was unmatched by anyone his age. As a younger man, Anakin used Form 4 lightsaber combat, Ataru, which he would later teach to his own student, Ahsoka Tano. Ataru was a very aggressive, fast-paced form, brought to its peak by the likes of Master Yoda. Anakin used Form 4 all the way up to his duel with Count Dooku, where he was severely bested by the former Jedi Master. Because of this, and his strength and skill increasing, Anakin was prompted to rethink his lightsaber form. Anakin then began using the Gem Sword, a dueling variant of Form 5 lightsaber combat. Anakin's increased strength helped him a great deal in this decision, and his natural speed and past experience with Ataru allowed him to move past the lack of mobility that came with the Gem Sword, although it took him several years to master. As a Force user, Anakin was also impressive, dabbling with mind probing and influence, although he would not truly master them until becoming a Sith Lord. Again, Anakin was more focused on the combative gifts of the Force. When battling regularly, Anakin was extremely skilled, but his true power came when he tapped into the dark side. This leads back to what was mentioned earlier. Anakin would always choose power over the Jedi way. Several times as a Jedi Knight, Anakin used either anger or hatred to fuel his power, allowing him to execute feats he wouldn't normally. Only after giving into his anger did he handily defeat Asajj Ventress, and only after giving into his hatred did he kill Count Dooku. Anakin came to realize where the true power lied, and would if need be, tap into his darker emotions to pull from power not present in the light. The Jedi Council many times became weary of the young Skywalker, seeing his arrogance and use of the darkness, but still, he was allowed to stay due to his status as the Chosen One and because of his inherent skill. Anakin never struggled with the physical or combative abilities of the Jedi, he struggled with the Jedi philosophy itself. He believed himself more intelligent than his masters much of the time, and would not be unwilling to break the rules if he saw it necessary. However, as a Jedi, Anakin did do much good, in some cases saving entire worlds, and the amount of lives he saved were among the most of any Jedi, in large part due to his tendency to disobey the Order. Anakin is very similar to the Star Wars viewer. He saw many of the flaws that would destroy the Jedi. He attempted to remedy them, but was cut off by the Masters of the Order. Anakin saw the Jedi being confined to their rules, and how it hurt them, and that insight would later be used not to fix the Order, but destroy it entirely. As a fighter, Anakin laid the groundwork for the Sith that would follow. He was so gifted and so powerful, he believed few, if any, could ever challenge him, but this also led into his greatest weakness. Anakin was very easily manipulated. Despite being a Jedi, Anakin was ruled by emotion, and while this emotion could benefit him, it also could cause him to lose sight of a larger goal. As his master Obi-Wan would point out, sometimes a fight was not as important as it appeared, but rather set up a larger distraction that would win the day. Anakin was a master of the fight, but a student to the larger distraction. This in large part is what led Obi-Wan to defeat him on Mustafar. To finish, I would like to conclude with a quote that I think really illustrates Anakin's gift as a Force user and duelist, and what about him made him one of the best. Each parry cost Dooku more power than he'd used to throw Kenobi across the room. Each block aged him a decade. He no longer even tried to strike back. Force exhaustion began to close down his perception, drawing his consciousness back down to his physical form, trapping him within his own skull until he could barely even feel the contours of the room around him. He dimly sensed stairs at his back, stairs that led up to the entrance balcony. He retreated up them, using the higher ground for leverage, but Skywalker just kept on coming, tirelessly, ferocious. And even now, he was holding himself back. Even now, as he landed at Dooku's flank, and rain blows upon the Sith Lord's defenses, even as he drove Dooku backwards, step after step, Dooku could feel how Skywalker kept his fury banked behind walls of will. So there you have it, Anakin Skywalker was truly one of the most powerful Force users who has ever lived, but not one of the greatest Jedi. So what do you think? Where do you think Anakin Skywalker ranks among the other Jedi, and among the Sith as well? And who do you think is more powerful, Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker? If you would like to see a video talking about how powerful Darth Vader was, be sure to leave a like and request it in the comments. If you haven't yet, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related. If you would like to talk with me directly, my Twitter is @stupendous_wave. Thanks again for watching. Leave your comments on Anakin below. Really interested to hear what you guys have to say. May the Force be with you, and have a great day. Kylo Ren's abilities in The Force Awakens are left a bit ambiguous, and I think this was done on purpose. The filmmakers wanted to give the character some new abilities and show us some things we haven't seen before without going too overboard. In this video, we'll be discussing how powerful Kylo Ren is exactly. Kylo appears to be very gifted in the Force, but the extent of this may be hard to conclude. But we will attempt to do it anyway and try to determine exactly how powerful Kylo Ren truly is. We'll just be using the depiction of Kylo Ren we received in The Force Awakens, since it is assumed his abilities will both grow in magnitude and he will retain more control over them as the trilogy progresses. To begin, we'll discuss Kylo's command and ability in the Force. Kylo is seen displaying many advanced and powerful abilities in The Force Awakens, such as stopping a blaster bolt mid-air and even carrying information from unwilling subjects' minds, which is a practice he seems to have a particular enjoyment in. Kylo strikes me as someone who has a great natural ability but lacks a teacher. Many of his demonstrations with the Force are impressive, but most come off as a person who has natural ability but lacks the knowledge of how to use it and how to make it be the most effective it can be. When Kylo attempted to take the information from the mind of Rey about the map to Luke, he was bested, displaying he had limited experience in drawing information out of Force sensitives. It even seems as if he had slightly difficult at the time extracting the information from the mind of Poe Dameron as well. Vader himself also displayed this power on the regular, and normal individuals and Force sensitives alike bowed before his ability to take whatever he wanted from their minds. From Kylo's displays in the Force Awakens, he has not yet met his grandfather's aptitude with this ability. Kylo appears to be experimenting in his power in the Force, but the apparent lack of a teacher has left him to explore his power and potential on his own, trying out a little of everything. His Force pushes are powerful, and he displays beginner's level ability in extremely difficult Force displays. For reference concerning this ability, in the Clone Wars, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Mace Windu had a difficult time forcefully extracting information from an unwilling subject, something Kylo seems to have some real potential in. Granted, the 3 Jedi involved were fairly unfamiliar with the practice themselves. The fact it took 3 of the most gifted Force sensitives of the time definitely grants some merit on this ability. When Kylo uses this power, we know exactly where he learned it from exploits from Darth Vader. Kylo may have heard or even read about the ability, and then began to practice it on his own, becoming more and more skilled, but having it be unrefined and wild. We also cannot forget Kylo has had some training under Luke, and he may have had some aptitude and abilities Luke developed over the years, and could have learned some basic abilities in the Force, such as Force Push or the levitation of objects. The majority of the rest appears to be self-taught. I would compare Kylo's aptitude with the Force to be like having an individual who has never once played a game of American football before, but he has watched a few games and gotten an extremely basic grasp on the rules. However, this person is extremely fast, strong, and agile, and overall an incredible athlete. They just might not be the best at the sport right away due to their lack of exposure to it. Now that we've discussed Kylo's capabilities in the Force, let's discuss his prowess as a lightsaber duelist. To me, it appears as if Kylo is severely lacking in this department of his training. To his credit, he does seem fairly competent when it comes to blast deflection, as he demonstrated when he captured Rey on Takodana. We have yet to see Kylo engage in a duel besides his duel with Rey, where he ended up being bested, so admittedly, his skill is difficult to determine. What I gather from Kylo's skill is he seems to be utilizing a very basic use of Form 5.
His use of Form 5 lightsaber combat would explain his skill in blast deflection and how he was immediately able to counter Rey's last shot at him with a Force stun technique. Kylo also appears to favor heavy power blows and turning an opponent's attack on them with quick counters. Form 5 was also Darth Vader's primary fighting style, although he had pieces of others sprinkled in as well. Darth Vader's use in the form may have been what inspired Kylo to begin using it in the first place. For all of these reasons is why I believe Kylo uses Form 5 lightsaber combat. To our current knowledge, Kylo has only been involved in one fast-paced lightsaber duel with another individual with power in the Force, which explains his relative inexperience. This is not to say I don't believe Kylo has not had any training in lightsaber combat. I certainly think he has, most likely from his uncle Luke Skywalker. It just seems unlikely he has ever encountered anyone as close to his power in the Force as Rey in a duel. However, and this is just speculation, Kylo may have engaged in some smaller scale duels during the destruction of Luke's Jedi Academy, though this is not confirmed. Assuming Kylo Ren has had sparring sessions and some formal training but lacks the experience of a duel in which the other person is actively trying to cut the other one down, this explains why Kylo, while skilled with a blade, may be inexperienced in some maneuvers and sequences. In the EU, Darth Vader's secret apprentice, Starkiller, sparred with his training droids for years, and when he did eventually come into conflict with an individual with power in the Force and participated in a real duel, he commented that the sessions with the droid paled in comparison to what an actual duel was actually like. I would just like to briefly remind everyone that this video was solely based on the feats Kylo displayed in The Force Awakens, and I believe Kylo formed the perfect foundation on which to build a fierce dark-side warrior on. His training under Snoke and his abilities and experience progressing naturally will craft him into an individual that could one day even rival the might of his grandfather, Lord Vader. The fact that for the most part Kylo ended up training himself in many abilities is absolutely stunning, and I cannot wait to see what he looks like when his training is completed. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter for updates on the channel. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to help contribute to the channel and gain access to some special features. Click the annotations on screen to watch my previous video or a mystery video. Links for all are in the description down below. May the Force be with you and have a great day.
What brings you here?
Why does Supreme Leader Snoke seemingly almost not wish to complete the training of Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens? Why does he wait until the destruction of the Starkiller base and defeat of Kylo at the hands of Rey to begin with completing Kylo's training at all? I believe we have the answer, and we must look at Snoke and the way he has constructed the First Order, as well as past events that may provide us with a solid, definitive answer to this question. Although we have limited information on Snoke, we are aware to some degree how he has chosen to structure the First Order. The First Order is a force that is spread wide throughout the unknown regions of space, and although many resources were dedicated to the construction of the Starkiller base, the numbers of the First Order are still widely unknown. The reasoning behind why this is very important. Snoke is someone who we know has detailed knowledge about the inner workings of the Empire, specifically its fall. This is evident, as he knew what exactly caused the victory above Endor on behalf of the rebels and Luke to occur, with a divided Darth Vader ultimately returning to the light and receiving redemption. A major flaw of the Empire as a whole were putting all its cards too close together. Many of the Empire's key losses throughout history have been a result of coordinated attacks on locations heavily valued to the Empire, and on top of all of this, having all the key players present as well. Examples in the films alone being the first Death Star and Grand Moff Tarkin, then in Return of the Jedi the second Death Star, Darth Vader, and the Emperor himself. And then following these events, the Empire being ambushed after largely regrouping on Jakku. The point is that Snoke has learned from the mistakes of past leaders. This is why he has spread out the resources of the First Order, colonizing potentially dozens of planets in the unknown regions, and although the overall numbers are likely far less than the Empire, the power is not all grouped together. Along with this, Snoke himself resides in a mobile command center, never remaining in one place for too long. Now we must examine what Snoke learned from the more personal side of the Empire's collapse. The biggest contributing factor to the Emperor's ultimate demise was trust. He simply trusted his apprentice Darth Vader too much, and while his focus was on Luke, he failed to realize the true danger was by his side. The Emperor overestimated his hold on Vader and underestimated the power of blood and family. This is a mistake the Supreme Leader is well aware of. In The Force Awakens, Kylo's biggest trial is bringing himself to kill his father, Han Solo. By doing this cements him under the thumb of Snoke, as he is able to do what his grandfather ultimately could not. Following this is when the Supreme Leader finally agrees to complete Kylo's training. Snoke feels the light within Kylo, and although he cites this as a reason for his immense power, it also poses a potential threat to him. If Kylo even retains the smallest amount of loyalty to his family, his potential to betray and kill Snoke remains. We do, however, know Kylo has received some training on behalf of Snoke by comments made by Kylo referring to Snoke's concern for him returning to the light. Even you, Master of the Knights of Ren, have never faced such a test. By the grace of your training, I will not be seduced. For the case of Snoke, Kylo even poses a greater threat to him than Vader did to Palpatine. Palpatine knew after Vader was crippled on Mustafar, he would never surpass him, and still chose to use him because he was still the best option he had at the time, later attempting to trade him in for Luke. The relationship between Kylo and Snoke is oddly switched, with Snoke being very powerful but also damaged and vulnerable, and Kylo being very powerful and holding huge potential, even by Snoke's own evaluation. It is where you are from, what you are made of, the dark side, and the light. The finest sculptor cannot fashion a masterpiece from poor materials. He must have something pure, something strong, something unbreakable with which to work. Snoke is not as naive as Palpatine was. As well as learning from the tactical missteps of the Empire, he is also aware of the more personal ones. This is why Snoke's trials to Kylo involve him severing the connections ultimately his grandfather couldn't. Snoke is molding Kylo into something more sinister than even Darth Vader by making him confront and destroy his own family. Not only is Luke on his own a huge threat to Snoke, but he also represents the failures of the past, and with him forcing Kylo to eliminate his weaknesses, it gives him more control over Kylo, and his trust in him thus increases. Snoke is also not a Sith, as this was made evident. It almost appears as if Snoke is hoping to maintain himself, as the way of the Sith is for the apprentice to eventually kill the master and take their place as the Dark Lord. So to summarize, the reason Snoke refused to complete the training of Kylo is because he did not fully trust him and has learned from the mistakes of the past. Only after Kylo kills his own father does the Supreme Leader wish to complete his training. But now, I would like to talk about how Snoke doing this may ultimately be a mistake. When Kylo kills his father, he's expecting to feel the power of the dark side course through him and almost receive relief through dedicating himself fully to one course. But much to Kylo's surprise, he feels weak. Weaker than he has in a very long time. As a very brief side note, this feeling is also a big thing I see coming into play in the final duel that allowed Rey to best Kylo, as it may have been an even bigger contributing factor to her victory than even the bowcaster wound. The point is, by attempting to stomp out his connection to the light, he weakened himself in that moment. And Kylo's largest step into the dark may also have helped him take his first step back into the light, as the magnitude of his action weighs on him. So that is just my theory as to why Snoke was apprehensive about training Kylo in and before the events of The Force Awakens. I really hope that the reason is something similar to this, as it adds a lot of thought behind the Supreme Leader's plans and is something I see the very wise Snoke thinking through while swaying Ben to become Kylo. I also love the parallels it draws between Snoke and the Emperor, and Kylo and Vader, as it shows us Snoke has learned from the mistakes of the Emperor, while on the other hand, Kylo has failed to learn from the redemption of Vader. So go ahead and tell me what you think about this theory. I know it really isn't an earth-shattering race parents theory or something similar, but it's more thinking through the psychology and thought process of our characters. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please leave all insight and suggestions down below. May the Force be with you, and have a great day. Supreme Leader Snoke's origins have yet to be revealed to the audience, and with many theories many fans have subscribed to more oftentimes than not, suggesting Snoke rose directly from the dark side, we may all be looking in the wrong place. In this video, I propose an alternative path Snoke may have taken in his journey to becoming Supreme Leader of the First Order, that being that he has shared a similar path to many Sith Lords or Darkseid users before him, and many in the expanded universe. What if Snoke never really originated from the dark? What if at one point in time he was an agent of the light,
and protector of the galaxy, what if at one point in time, Snoke was a Jedi? Something that is really important in all of this is discussing what we know for fact about Snoke, and there are a few things that might point to him being a past Jedi and past agent of the light side. As far as the confirmed backstory we have about Snoke goes, we know that Snoke became a prominent member in the First Order after they retreated into the unknown space, though it is unclear if Snoke went to them in the unknown space or if he was actually first encountered out in the unknown regions himself. The basis of what I'm trying to say is, was Snoke actually present in the unexplored areas of space before the First Order went there, or did he actually travel with the First Order or the remnants of the Empire? This is actually a really big mystery that we have concerning Snoke, learning whether or not he had any involvement working with the Empire before its collapse at the hands of the rebellion. If he did, his involvement with the Empire is unknown at this point. All we know is that Snoke witnessed both the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire. If Snoke was a big player with the Empire before the destruction, the question remains why he is never referenced or present in the events of the original trilogy, where the rebellion against the Empire was in full swing. It is possible that Snoke was a background player for the Empire and string puller and was never directly involved with any of the events, but was still a prominent member of the Empire. But it is also possible that Snoke had zero involvement with the Empire before its destruction and before it became the First Order. What I am suggesting is Snoke was already driven into unknown space before the Empire was defeated, and that Snoke learned of the Empire and saw its rise and fall, not because he was directly a part of it, but because he was directly hunted by the Empire. Snoke has told Kylo that he has had many apprentices over the years and trained many. It could be possible that during Snoke's time as a Jedi, he had many apprentices he trained similarly to the way other Jedi were trained. If Snoke was indeed a past Jedi and possible survivor of Order 66, it would make sense that he would flee into the unknown regions to escape the grasp of the Empire. With all this said, we also know that Snoke, to some degree, thought highly of the Empire, and specifically, Darth Vader. So how can we explain this? I suggest this. What if after a younger Jedi Snoke initially escaped Order 66, he was hunted down by Vader, who showed him the pure might of the dark side and the Empire. They had a duel, or force battle, that ultimately left Snoke gravely injured and defeated, but not to the point where he died, to the point where he was still able to escape. What if after witnessing the might of the Empire and Vader, he began to study and delve into the dark side during his recovery from this battle, seeing the way of the light is far less powerful than the way of the dark, and adopting the ways of the dark side of the Force? I would also like to briefly point out that it is possible that Snoke has no fond feelings of the Empire or Vader, and that he simply appears that way to appeal to Kylo Ren. It is also a possibility that Snoke received his injuries from Order 66 itself, which might actually explain why he would be against the production of a clone army, which is a brief line mentioned in The Force Awakens. Andy Serkis and J.J. Abrams also stated that at one point in time, Snoke was a very handsome individual. It would be interesting that after Snoke received his injuries, he found his way to Moraband, or another planet powerful in the dark side, and studied the ways of the dark side of the Force. And during his studies, also kept a watchful eye on the Empire and its war against the rebellion. Snoke would become an individual who was once a Jedi, now corrupted by the dark side, waiting for his chance to seize the galaxy by its throat. In the Force Awakens novelization, it is made clear that Snoke fears Luke a great deal, and this would make sense, seeing as if Snoke viewed the Empire as this grand, powerful organization, witnessing one individual conquering two of its biggest leaders would be cause for fear. Snoke, again in the novelization of The Force Awakens, tells Kylo Ren that he is exceptionally powerful because he is a union between the light and dark, able to tap into both and use both sides of the Force. Snoke could actually end up being similar to this, coming from a place of the light, from the Jedi, but finding great evil resides inside of him. Snoke could see Kylo as someone similar to himself, and as someone he could use to kill Luke, so that he would not have to do it personally. He also might have selected Kylo specifically because of the familial connection to Luke, on top of his strength in the Force. Another possibility could be that Snoke was actually found by Luke after the collapse of the Empire, and was at one point a Jedi alongside Luke. Learning the ways of the Force and becoming more powerful, but eventually having Snoke turn on Luke and having Luke severely injure him as a result of the betrayal, but not kill him, at which point Snoke would retreat to the remnants of the Empire and reincarnate them into the First Order, with the ultimate goal of revenge against the Jedi and Luke. But I find this scenario to be too similar to Kylo's, and I believe they will go a separate route. As fans of the Star Wars EU have now seen, the new movies seem to be taking some similar beats, with the character of Kylo being quite similar to Jason Solo. The reason I bring this up is because I believe it could be a possibility of seeing something similar to the EU character Darth Krayt in Snoke, and have some of his character and backstory implemented into Snoke, as we saw they did with Kylo Ren and Jason Solo. I think it would be really interesting to learn that at one point the big bad of the new trilogy was once a Jedi, and maybe even had some background interactions with some classic characters of the past, while still keeping him a new and fresh character. Also, if this ends up being the case, it opens the door for numerous other stories about Snoke to be told in the future, including his exploits as a Jedi, his eventual fall to the dark side, and how he was able to band together the remnants of the Empire and forge them into a new, more sinister weapon for him to wield unchallenged. I have not yet been so fascinated with the character for a long time, and I'm chomping at the bit to get a little indication of who Snoke really is. The filmmakers brilliantly crafted the story so that even after seeing The Force Awakens, we would still be left with many questions about the characters and how they've arrived at where they are at the time of the film. I cannot wait to learn more about the mystery of Snoke, and rest assured, when we do, I will cover it as best as possible to eventually put all of the puzzle pieces together that is Supreme Leader Snoke. Thank you so much for watching. Leave in the comments down below what preferred origin you would want for Supreme Leader Snoke. How would you feel if he turned out to be a past Jedi who has now turned against his original code and turned to the dark side of the Force? If you disagree with what I said in the video, I at least hope you found it entertaining and it killed a few minutes for you. May the Force be with you, and have a great day. A few days ago we got some concept art that is really amazing, and I think it's a pretty big deal, and that is the reveal of the Knights of Ren. We get good images of the concept art of the Knights of Ren that actually appeared in The Force Awakens. We get all 6 of them, not including Kylo, which would make 7. So I've gone ahead and pointed them out on the screen, but we're going to go ahead and name them off. It's the Heavy, the Armory, the Rogue, the Sniper, and the Monk. So let's go ahead and talk about what this means. Now what this does for us is it doesn't give us a ton of new information, save one character, which we will talk about, but it does give us some of the names and show us the full designs for these characters, and we get to see them in better lighting, because in The Force Awakens, during Rey's Force Vision, of course it was raining, it was dark, and when the lightning was striking is really when we were getting good looks at them, but other than that, they were hidden in the shadows really well. Now, 5 of the 6 Knights of Ren that we get to see here actually don't have lightsabers, and again, we'll talk about the last one a little bit later, but it does appear that they have some cool weapons. In fact, one of them is named the Sniper, and when it comes to the character, the Armory, or the Armory Knight of Ren, it appears as if he may have a blaster actually attached to his chest, and then of course he has a staff, or almost a bat-like weapon. These characters, I just want to say, they honestly, genuinely look very terrifying to me. They all look like something out of a horror movie. Now let's go ahead and talk about the last one, which I think reveals some really big stuff and is very important, and I have a few theories about it. The last Knight of Ren that we see is actually titled Young Jedi Killer. Now of the group, there is a mystery Knight of Ren, which is actually the one on the far left, that could be this person, but this could be someone else. This could potentially be one of Luke's fallen students, because we do see, as I pointed out, it does appear to have a lightsaber. What this potentially could be is a younger Ben Solo. Now, something that's interesting about the lightsaber is that it appears to me, at least, to be dual-bladed, which could kind of point to Kylo Ren's affinity for already more obscure lightsabers. Now, of course, the crossguard is a little bit more obscure than the dual-bladed lightsaber, but they're still a little bit different. They're unconventional, especially more than the single-bladed lightsaber. Now, of course, in the image above, we do see Kylo Ren is actually in possession of a cross-guarded lightsaber, but according to the Force Awakens novelization, that right there actually is not the attack on Luke's Jedi Academy. So this could actually be when Ben Solo turned to the dark side, how he looked, and it was scrapped from the final cut of the film. And this might have been his lightsaber. He could have had a dual-bladed lightsaber when he turned on the Jedi Academy, since it is called the Young Jedi Killer. This could actually be a younger Kylo Ren. Or it could be another one of Luke's fallen students, possibly one of the younger students that chose to follow Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren and turned on Luke's Jedi Academy and actually assisted them in killing them. But as I said earlier, this character doesn't actually appear in the film in Rey's vision. Again, at the same time, of course, the title tells us right away that this person did have a hand in attacking Luke's academy, because the title of this character, or the title of the concept for this character, is Young Jedi Killer. Now, I did bring up that it is potentially Kylo Ren, but I would also like to say that it does say Dillion in the two images that we get, because if we look at this image, which is the last one I'm going to show on screen, or the last new one rather, it actually says Jedi Killer Biker Dillion. So it appears as if this younger kid, this Jedi Killer, put on this helmet, and this is the same character, because it also looks like they have similar attire. So right now, this character's name is Dillion. It's unknown if that was Kylo's original name, but I would say that most likely, due to this, they are two separate characters now, which really thickens the plot and makes it more interesting. And then above this biker image of Dillion, we actually see 7 more Knights of Ren that were not featured in the film. They might have been cut, or these could be the images that they will be using for Episode 8. So really interesting stuff, honestly. And I'd just like to add one little last thing. For Dillion, he actually shares a very similar design for a First Order crew member, so I assume they originally took this character's helmet, not the character itself, but they took the design of the helmet and moved it over to the First Order crew, because it's very similar. In fact, it's almost identical. And if you read a little bit here, it says under crewman profile that originally this was for Dillion, but they used it for the First Order crew member in the film itself. But I don't think that that by any means scraps the character, because the concept art above shows him unmasked. So go ahead and tell me what you guys think. I'm very interested in this. For this, we get really a reveal of a lot of the Knights of Ren. Again, there's 6 behind Kylo originally. We have that one to the far left that's still a little bit of a mystery. It could be Dillion, could not. And then we actually get 7 more at the bottom, which I assume are more background characters, Knights of Ren, that were not involved in the Jedi Massacre, or they could have been. They're not actually in the Force Awakens film. We're just unsure where they were at the time. And a lot of these concept images, they're very interesting. Again, we have one character, this Dillion character, who has a lightsaber. In fact, it appears to be a dual-bladed lightsaber, but none of the other Knights of Ren actually appear to have sabers. So it's kind of potentially a mixture of bounty hunters, past Inquisitors, fallen Jedi students. A lot of these are looking to be very likely options at this point for the Knights of Ren. At this point, I'm honestly quite confused. I'm going to have to take a few moments to kind of collect all this different stuff, this new information, because what this concept art does is it actually gives us a bunch of really big reveals, and it was quite unexpected that they just straight out revealed all of these Knights of Ren and what they look like in the film. Again, the Dillion character is definitely the biggest mystery for me. Who is he? He has what appears, again, a dual-bladed lightsaber, which is different from Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Is he Kylo Ren? What does he have to do with the Star Wars universe? I will have a new Knight of Ren theory video. It's just going to take me a few days after this concept art, and we're going to come back and talk about what we see here a little bit more in depth. But for the time being, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter for updates on the channel. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to help contribute to the channel and gain access to some special features. Click the annotations on screen to watch my previous video or a mystery video. Links for all are in the description down below. May the Force be with you, and have a great day. We just received a huge leak and confirmation from Star Wars Episode 8 that indicates that 3 of the major players currently in this new trilogy could possibly have a face-off. And I just want to say before we begin discussing all the details, it is quite spoilery, so be warned. Yesterday, a few actors arrived in Northern Ireland to shoot scenes for Episode 8. Now, the significance of Ireland in this leak is that that is where they have shot all of the Octu scenes for Episode 8. For those of you that don't remember, Octu is the island in which Rey discovered Luke in the finale for The Force Awakens. The biggest significance
significance and thing to follow that we received were the actors that actually arrived in Ireland. One of the actors and the big topic in this video is that Adam Driver, the actor who plays Kylo Ren, was among the group. That is correct. The big spoiler and leak we received from the actors arriving is that Kylo Ren will eventually make it to Oct 2. The other very important thing is that not only is Kylo Ren going to Oct 2, but he will also encounter both Rey and Luke Skywalker there as well, as the other two actors arriving we see are Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill. You can interestingly enough tell Daisy Ridley was trying to hide that it was her, but a well-placed camera shot and various close-up images the paparazzi were able to obtain confirms it is her. On another note, Rian Johnson, the director and writer for Episode 8, also arrived. So this is huge news for Star Wars, and right away we know that Kylo Ren will not only make it to Oct 2, but also encounter not only Luke, but Rey as well. In The Force Awakens, it was Kylo's primary goal to hunt down and kill the last remaining Jedi, that being Luke Skywalker. So now that we know he receives the locations of Luke in Episode 8, that is what appears to be going down. Seeing this, I would have to assume it occurs near the latter half of the film, since a confrontation like this is monumental. Also, a remaining question is who else has Kylo brought along with him to aid him in killing Rey and Luke? It is only logical to assume he knows Rey went to train with Luke after The Force Awakens, and he must know that even if his abilities have amplified over the course of his training under Snoke, he will still require help. Could this mean Snoke himself will venture to Oct 2 and assist Kylo in executing Rey and Luke? Although this would be cool and a great treat to finally see what Snoke can do, I find this to be unlikely. It is made abundantly clear that Snoke fears Luke more than almost anything, and he seems to be far more hands-off when concerning Luke, preferring others to fight for him. I do, however, think we can expect the Knights of Ren to accompany Kylo on his journey to Oct 2. We know the Knights of Ren have killed Jedi in the past and fought with Kylo before, and Kylo will likely facilitate all the help he can get. A sequence I look forward to seeing is a group of the Knights of Ren and Kylo fighting both Luke and a better trained Rey in the finale for Episode 8. It's also quite satisfying to know that we will finally find out how Luke feels about Kylo and his betrayal and murder of his friends and everything he cared for. Luke could turn out to be very vengeful and lose control, similarly to the way he did years ago with Vader on the second Death Star. But I find this to be unlikely. Luke learned his lesson from his duel with Vader, and he learned that the consequences of giving into his hate and rage are very dangerous. Giving into rage for even a second can jeopardize who you are, and this was a huge thing Luke learned in Return of the Jedi. I think above all, Luke will still hold hope for his nephew, even after he has killed so many Luke has cared about, including Han Solo. A rematch between Rey and Kylo is also a possibility with this, and we could potentially see the two of them fighting while Luke engages with the Knights of Ren, so we could have two fight sequences occurring simultaneously. By Kylo arriving, clearly he has gained some new power and command over the Force, and is overall more confident in practice with all aspects of his abilities. If Kylo were to arrive and just get bested right away, this would not make sense, which means he himself has either progressed significantly than the last time we encountered him, or he is accompanied by individuals he feels confident could destroy both Luke and Rey with his help. I am also interested to see how exactly Kylo obtained the information about Oct 2. In The Force Awakens, there was a whole room, possibly even base filled with people with knowledge of the location of Luke, which means we could potentially see Kylo go after those people. There was also some leaked plot a while ago that described a large-scale attack on the Resistance base, and my working theory right now is that it is the same base we saw in The Force Awakens, and that Kylo and the First Order will arrive and seize the map for Luke. This also brings up the question, how many people will be accompanying Kylo to Oct 2? Not only could the Knights of Ren go with Kylo, but maybe even huge battalions of First Order troops to aid in the final push to destroy the Last Jedi. In closing, this is huge news, and a big leak for Episode 8. The arrival of Kylo Ren to Oct 2 is now confirmed, and by the looks of it, he will be having a scene with both Luke Skywalker and Rey in the film. I am so excited right now, and inside, I really wish we could get a look at the location or set they will be filming on, since I would love to potentially see a large fight break out near or in the First Jedi Temple. Anyway, tell me how you feel about this leak, and the fact that we will see the three of them together, and we now know the location of possibly the final confrontation in Episode 8. Are you glad Kylo has finally discovered the location of Luke Skywalker, and what kind of help do you think we'll have in attempting to kill Luke and Rey? Also, how do you think currently all these characters feel about each other? Specifically, Luke's feelings towards Kylo. Are they harsh and spiteful, or do you think Luke has moved on in his exile? Thank you so much as always for watching, and stay tuned for everything Episode 8 and Star Wars in general. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.
It has been too long.
So we've gotten some new leaked Star Wars Episode 8 plot details, and of course there are spoilers ahead. This is coming from Latino Review, which in the past I have found to be quite accurate. So if you don't want to know anything about Star Wars Episode 8, specifically something that happens with Leia and Laura Dern's character and Poe Dameron as well, go ahead and click off. But if you're willing to be spoiled slightly for Episode 8, stay tuned. So there are two really substantial reveals that we get in this leaked plot details, but we're going to go ahead and go piece by piece with some of the smaller ones first, and we'll kind of sprinkle the big ones in there. So the first one is that Laura Dern is a Resistance officer or captain. Basically, she's a very high-ranking member of the Resistance. It says that most of the time she is on a very, very large ship surrounded by a lot of Resistance fighters. Now, a lot of these Resistance fighters are described as hairy aliens, so not a lot of humans in there, and it's also said that there is a large amount of droids. In fact, a highly unusual amount of droids. And on this ship is Poe Dameron, and Poe Dameron is a part of a group of very beaten up Resistance fighters. It looks like they've been through a lot. They've been in fights with the First Order, and there's very few of them. It's also made clear that there has been some type of large-scale attack on the Resistance and that there aren't very many left, and that Poe Dameron and his little group of people are some that were lucky enough to get on to Laura Dern's ship, and now Laura Dern is basically in charge of the Resistance. It's said that Laura Dern's character even has this speech where it says that there has been a large attack and that now they are the last of the Resistance, and that now they're more like the rebels than they were ever like the Resistance, and they've been reduced as they were at the time of the Empire. So that is a really big plot detail about Episode 8. Now we know that the Resistance has undergone some type of huge attack at the hands of the First Order, and I speculate probably Kylo Ren has been directly involved with this attack, to some extent, possibly even the Knights of Ren, and they've greatly diminished the Resistance numbers. So that's really big, like I said. Now let's go ahead and get into the other really big piece of this new plot leak, and that is that General Leia is apparently gravely injured by the First Order attack, and is now undergoing some type of medical treatment, thus leaving Laura Dern's officer character in command of basically what she describes as the rebels now. So the next piece we get is that Poe Dameron and Laura Dern's character do not get along at all. In fact, they have quite a very unstable relationship. They're constantly disagreeing with one another, although Laura Dern's character does seem to outrank him by a great deal, thus putting her in charge, even though Poe Dameron and I assume a lot of other Resistance members don't agree with some of the choices that she is deciding to make now that she's in charge of the Resistance. What are those choices? They're currently an unknown, but I'm sure that they might not be good overall. Briefly going back to General Leia, I just want to talk about that for a second. It's unknown whether the Knights of Ren or Kylo Ren are involved to some extent. I would assume that they are, but it is also made very clear that General Leia is hurt to a large extent, although she is not dead. It's also unclear where General Leia is, whether she's on the ship with Laura Dern and Poe Dameron or somewhere else. Honestly, I would assume that she could be on the ship, but it's also likely that she could be somewhere else as well with other Resistance members, and there could be more pockets of Resistance than Laura Dern's character initially perceived. And the last piece of information that we get is that Laura Dern's character's ship is actually overtaken by Poe Dameron and some of the Resistance members that I assume were with him and the ones that actually saw the fight and were really injured, and not Laura Dern's crew, but it is said that they take over the ship and deactivate a lot of the droids. So there's a lot of mentions in droids in this plot leak, which is very interesting. Laura Dern's character may have a particular fascination with them, or she might be something like, I trust the droids more. It's very interesting, and it says that there's not a lot of human people on the ship, as it said earlier, so I'd be very interested as to why Laura Dern's character feels that there shouldn't be very many humans on board with her ship, because it doesn't say that she's dressed in makeup or any type of prosthetic, but it's again made clear that there's a lot of droids and non-human characters, so I'm very interested to ask of why that is. It's also said that Poe Dameron actually holds a blaster to Laura Dern's character's face, so that's really interesting. Of course, Poe Dameron decides to take over and I assume go help out some people that may need the help that Laura Dern's character doesn't want to go help. That's kind of the most likely scenario I see right now. I also had something pop into my head that Laura Dern actually could be a double agent for the First Order, but this doesn't exactly match up because the First Order doesn't really have a lot of sympathy for alien characters, and again, it is made clear that there are a lot of alien species on this ship that Laura Dern appears to be in command of. So at this point, that's all the information that we have right now. Really, two big reveals. One, there was a large-scale attack on the Resistance, and that now it's been defeated in numbers a great deal. And the second being that General Leia was supposedly injured in that attack by something that we're really unfamiliar with at this point. Again, I assume Kylo Ren might have led the attack. Really, a lot of parallels so far with this league to the Hoth battle and Empire Strikes Back, although honestly this attack, from what we've heard, appears to be more devastating than the Hoth battle was in Empire. So go ahead and tell me what you guys think. What do you guys think about these Beast Squad details? What do you guys think is going to happen? Who do you think Order's character is? Could he be a double agent, or do you think that he's just a Resistance member? It doesn't quite see eye to eye with others. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter for updates on the channel. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to help contribute to the channel and gain access to some special features. Click the annotations on screen to watch my previous video or a mystery video. Links for all are in the description down below. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.
Heyo. Yo.
What's up? Am I transmitting? Hold on.
Yeah. You're good.
I'm fighting with Hilletons right now.
What, kitty?
It changed my pet's name? No, it just calls it a spirit beast.
Death cannot
hunter?
stop me.
Yeah. She needs a trinket from this world.
That's High Mountain, right?
Yeah.
Die well.
That's weird, because I think it's just money for me.
The Hilletons?
Oh. Yeah. I'm gonna double check.
Turn Growl back on.
Yeah, it's helpful. Personally, with my hunter, I find it easier just to use tank mode when questing.
The Drogbar
kill
are
mode,
assaulting
basically.
Thunder Totem,
5
and
minutes
too many
saves
of
the
my
whole-
forces
Oh,
have
apparently
been
the
drawn
Drogbar
off to
attack-
engage with the Legion. Can you
That's
assist
hard.
us, champion?
Yeah, considering I just landed on but solves the whole fucking growl thing.
Those Ettins
I
are
also
building a
have
huge
that
bonfire
legendary that gives
to
all the
cook and
passes
eat my tribesmen.
all the,
You have
pet
to stop
specs.
them.
Where are you at? Where are you at?
I'm murdering Ettins. I might not be on our server.
I just saw that. Quest to join group. Wow, how polite.
That's fancy.
That was the BattleNet right click.
Guess I'll stay.
Yeah, might as well.
They got rid of Rick.
The rock ones are always the best ones to go after. Two more.
And then the prince.
Yeah.
Let's go.
There's
Let's go
big-
up here. There's
Oh, okay.
a pack of them up here. This UI, like apparently on, an Elv UI, you can copy someone's UI,
Mhm.
and if they paste a string, you paste it in like, a voodoo string. And this one has the map in like the wrong spot. It's like on the other side of the screen. It just kills me. Someone's fighting with this one over here. Oh,
Oh, we got some back. There, big boy. There we are. Where are you? It's better than a passive that heals you for 52% of your health every 60 seconds. That's what those giant big bags are. Click on the bag, you get a thing.
oh.
I think you get a thing like yak milk or mammoth milk. Sorry. Let's kill the prince. Fuck it. This guy looks like a giant coffin.
Okay, he died fast. You did 730 KP.
I popped the cooldowns. Am I done?
Alright.
Yeah. Apparently he counts as one of the Ettins as well. That's weird.
That's so cheating.
That or someone else killed an Ettin while we were killing him.
Okay. Oh, the other person left. We're in the same groups too.
What did I get? Oh yeah, I got a trinket. Crappy one, but I got a trinket.
It's better than 825. Just keeps. I have to keep telling myself. Better than an 825.
Yeah. No arguments there. Oh, it was so messed up. I think it was my priest. She, remember that trinket I linked you that my warlock got? It was that unused thing that
Yeah.
gives you crit? She got that out of her Time Walker though. My priest.
Nice.
Yeah, and at Warforged, so it actually ended up being an unbuffed heroic level. Because if it's normal that Warforged, so I was like, what the hell are they freaking? My little girl's such a wrecking ball.
I'm out. 100 photos.
Yeah, I'm following your death trail. Oh yeah, Kelly. Yeah, this is the big bastard I landed on. Straight out of my order hole. Just...
This was a costly lesson in not overextending my forces. I appreciate your help, champion.
Alright.
So what next?
Oh, I wasn't doing like them. I was just doing that one.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Well, if you want to
yeah,
go,
apparently-
if you want to go swap, I'll go take out this pet battle. I think.
Okay.
If it's what I think it is, 'cause if it is, I'm not gonna do it because I have to go in the fucking cave.
Alright, I'm gonna hearth, and I don't know who I'm gonna take.
Anyone? Oh, it is. It's in the cave. Oh, I know exactly where this is. Damn it. Pocket boots go.
We are the darkness beneath the mountain! Darkness take you!
Fucking mind these guys.
these Ronir giving you too much trouble, Delmog? Perhaps I misjudged your worth. When you're done with this distraction, meet us in Riverbend.
It's time.
You know, friend request. I'll share it after I get done with stuff. Should be shared.
Time for badges. $1 get some gear.
It's all 8:15.
815 would be better than the 735 trinket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's probably the most. I don't want to say stupid, but that's the only word I can use to phrase it. Pet battle. This guy does an AoE cleave, and the whole point of the battle is to survive the 9 rounds that he's immune to because he falls apart after. So, stay alive. That's the pet battle. Although it's harder to get here than it is to do the damn pet battle. Oh shit. Whee! Are you already pre-moving yourself $1 in?
No, right now I'm transporting demon goods or whatever.
That's done. That's done. I literally almost
Okay,
just whistled to High Mountain with it in eyeline. This would be good if I could switch back to my take spec, dump some more AP. I mean, that's the other reason why I've been doing it, because on the characters I want to, because since everybody now has their coordinates, figure out the tunes that I want to, or that I desire to, I'll start working on their alt coordinates. And, the Wii Murder Machine is on the list. I mean, it's so hard to seriously give a shit about AP farming when we hit that 1.1 billion mark.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, you know, the other climbs were, yeah, they were steep, but, you know, that's just so demotivating.
Glory to Odin!
At least on the upside, this next few time walkers, I know I won't fucking die, because of stupid ass tanks pulling through
Death to
shit.
your enemies!
I mean, the one death was on the hill in Pit. Fortunately, no one raged, but it's because
I
the
dwell
tank
in the
decided to
Shadowlands.
assume everyone knows the
One day I may
kill Ick and then run up the mountain. Like, that only works if you tell everybody you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you pull both groups and we just get fucking curb stomped. Which we did. That'll do it. Talking to my nephew. You will not defeat me, loading boss.
Go.
Can't do that while stunned. I'm not even physically there yet. What did I come to dollar? Oh yeah, mail. Apparently they don't get mail up in Valhalla. Odin needs to work on that.
Right?
Like, dude, you got Valkyries that can shuttle people from the dead.
What can I do for you?
You can't get mail? Come on. I got oxen, bitches.
See you later. King's honor, friend.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Just toss me an invite whenever you can fire this up.
For the Alliance.
Oh, yeah. When you invite me, I'll share the quest. I need to make more silkweed splints.
Do what?
I said, whenever you're ready, just toss me an invite. I'll share the quest. We can fire this up.
Alright, I picked the quest up. Right now I'm looking for a trinket.
Ah, okay. I gotta make some more silkweed splints.
Ugh, it's gonna have to be that Healy egg of immortal bullshit trinket.
Oh, that's set bone. I want to do that. Splint, there we go. Like how you need ore to make splints. I'm not sure how that works, but... I mean, if they're referring to a cast, then that would kind of make sense. When I think of splints, I think, you know, 2 pieces of wood wrapped around whatever's broken. Ooh, Icklon!
Yeah.
Yay! Kicking it old school.
Yeah, let me switch my voodoo.
This is so awesome.
Oh. It switched on.
It's funny that this is how we started.
Yeah, these two.
Back at it again. Oh, if you still have it, you can use your empowered augment rune from Warlords when we get into the Walker.
Yeah, I don't have that.
You know me, nostalgia. I can't throw anything away.
I did not throw away yet.
You're all crit.
Legendary ring.
I don't think it does anything.
I thought about it. Yeah, I thought about it.
I know, Cloak's still proc, but... I know the damage buff doesn't work, like the explosion or whatever, for the DPS ones. What are we gonna
It's
play?
like I knew I'd be doing this. Because I installed Bigwigs for Wrath today.
Ooh, good.
No poisons, no bleeds.
Nope. Just that blender AoE from those little guys and the Shocky Monkey debuff.
That's not my problem.
Nope. Murder.
See if they want to place it. Does he come all the way up here?
I knew it!
Flash is not stronger.
Death Knight's really starting to piss me off. I gotta get my fucking horn on my bar.
I did not know you could shoot.
Yeah. Passing them is completely up to the group. Not gonna get through there on. So slow. Teach a little lesson about pulling that way. mages work. Usually, casters are fucked on these time walkers due to the whole haste scaling. Come on, you little...
Ice Lance, instant cast.
Yeah. Come on. Like how I'm feared but not. Alright, the Kraken's girdle. I would laugh so hard if that DK gets flattened by the phase change. It'll just be too great.
That was the wrong totem.
So close. That was a cool card.
Taunt him?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that. Kinda it's good for targets. Hey look, someone who knows how to use defensive cooldowns for when shit goes bad.
Hmm.
I just kind of wish the Violent had a dance. That's what I transformed into. Like maybe that female orc booty shake. That would be great. Well, I can take care of
I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires. The birth and extinction is that for you? Entire none. Over countless millennia, the the end of this world.
Alright.
Peace out, fuckers. Pop some AP.
Frozen orb.
Hot damn.
My quest
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you pull that off?
I'm listening. Oh, well, apparently. Quest that I never did or finished was turning in timeout.
Patience.
Oh,
Discipline.
you can go ahead and turn those in.
I'm not. I'm turning in. I don't care about speaking to someone, Skyhorn.
No. Grab a cigarette, right back. Kitty's all about wanting attention tonight.
Let me switch specs so I can use these
Yeah, go ahead. No rush.
artifact power things.
Ooh, I just finished the mission. I did super jump my way back home. My Horn of War is done. She got any IAP. Battlegrounds up. Nope. Bareback brawl it is. That's 500. 125. My Valkyra has been exhausted.
I serve a greater power.
Whatever shall you do?
Record more of them big booty bitches.
Unless I will succeed, Battle Lord.
Blood gladiators murdering each other, not.
Such as their will.
Someone just dropped a piccolo. So I'm dancing while harping.
It's like when I had that dancing buff from the auction house dance party. You would just bust into dance randomly from the buff, and nothing would really interrupt it except movement. So there were several times when I was like trying to go back to the dream. So she was like half kneeling, half dancing. It's really weird. It's like, bitch, you're gonna break your back doing that. This is my 300 food. What am I doing? $70
Death
rand, big
cannot
golden
stop
lady.
me.
Whee! I love how they brought back the coming down animation. Just that, too bad you never see it in $ing because the fucking loading is so bad. While I do miss the old one, I don't miss, you know, it breaking and just being dropped randomly somewhere. Crap. Oh, yeah.
Light be with you. Light bless you.
None of my followers can use the equipment I have for them.
For a second, I thought you were that hunter's pet. Shoot you with my bandage gun.
Ooh, 24,000. Wow.
Well, they're useful because they don't trigger the bandage debuff. So in an emergency, I can use a splint and pop myself with a gun at the same time. I've saved my life on several rare mobs out in Surmar. Namely that sorcerer hooker. Well, that's cool. We got orbs floating around your mace. Alright. I'll get my food buff on then. Like you did. Guessing it's supposed to be water
I guess.
dripping off all
I
your
don't-
shit.
I don't care much for it.
But they're legendary. They're awesome looking. I completely forgot this was even on the list. Alright. leader. Can you handle it?
I'm a.
Remember, watch the puppies. They'll try to silence you. Charge and I kind of went nowhere.
Run around casting.
Oh, gust. Okay. That's a thing. Yeah. Not sure how. At least he's smart enough.
You know what they say about curiosity.
Not going in there. Yep. Yep.
I'll give you more.
Yep.
Now to finish. There's plenty to go around. Down goes.
He almost died because when the hunter realized I wasn't pulling shit, he fucking feigned death.
Where'd you go? There you are.
I haven't gotten down there yet. Wonder who here remembers to keep jumping.
Preserve. Binder. Preserve me.
I'm out.
Yep.
Rogue did some good work on here. Holy hell.
Negative all other stats except for crit, so it makes it an 8% upgrade.
Shadow Strike. Ah, she was sub. I'll be damned. I am confused about the death from above, though. I didn't think that was a good choice. Huh, whatever. To each their own.
I am
Repair.
forsaken.
Render.
Beware the living.
Ooh, I'm gonna get a point. Maybe. Maybe. I got a point! Yeah! Hey, it's Thordle. Alright, let's see. Increase Thunderclap. Increase Revenge. Let's see. Oh, Thunderclap was higher, so first. It's about 40%. Alright, that's done. Grab a cigarette and fire this up.
Damn it, Kalek, I can see him on.
sound of my hand with her claws. She's like, lick, 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 lick. Okay.
Let me maybe
Yeah, no.
figure out where the hell my bars are.
No, man, take your time. Last thing I want to do is go in a healer who doesn't have his shit set up. I mean, let's see, total buff uptime. Ignore Pain had a 200.6% uptime.
Damn.
That's where I dump all my Fury. Because Shield Slam doesn't cost anything, Thundercloud doesn't cost anything, and the only thing that actually costs anything of any use is Revenge, and well, it's better just to use that on proc, so it'll hit harder anyway. Why are you saying no signal? Oh, because you're fucked up again.
Alright. Any bleeds?
Gosh, no, it's not bleeds here, it's the fucking poisons.
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah. I can't spam all this metal. Yes, I have to go away. So damn line of sight. Still not as bad as the freaking poisons from. God damn it. From the guy. Chuck the spears at those people. I was in there on my feet and it just flat out one shot at my head. Saw the spear fly, it hit him, and he just fell over.
Drakan, kill.
Scourge was no dark
Oh, we got demon
in army.
Think that they don't scale properly.
Not even the remotest. I would even say taken out. Oh shit. Move it.
Should have queued into this as elemental.
Goop on me. Oh, hello. This is the guy who can walk on water.
I gave it to others though. I didn't just fly around. Look at me fly.
Want to do the extra guy?
I don't care.
Badges, I guess. Should get the viable mount from this one.
We shall the scourge. What shall we do?
Yep. Told ya. That damn fucking demon hunter. Maybe it has something to do with the charge not being able to stop the guy. Liz did kill the fun of shooting the guy on his back. Because he used to just sit on his back as the polymorph thing, but now they just have to. Like, that was like one of the best things to do. Paladin about got wrecked.
You're dying from dot.
Bleeds, yeah. Alright, they're alive. We can leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trying to leave.
when he blendered, I shield walled and shield blocked.
Shit.
I can turn my quest in.
I serve a greater power.
Dalaran. I do think it's funny that it doesn't dismount you for the cutscene when you fly in.
Yeah.
They just love come flying in on my love rocket and it goes wham!
What can I do for you? Be
First
careful.
We will use the AP. Change specs. Then pop the box. Hopefully get something good. My loot spec. Current Fury, okay. Ooh, a 900 crit leech. Melee attacks have an additional chance to cause fire damage. Crit strike chance of this damage is increased by 10% for each ally within 10 yards who bears this item. Huh. That's weird.
Link that. That's bizarre.
Yeah. Repair her up, switch to Pally, and tank your last two.
What is it? Trust no one.
Get my other damn monitor to work. Kill the program. Thank you.
I'll always treasure our time together.